Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Powerful People. We are so excited to kick off Parkinson's Awareness Month. So happy Parkinson's Awareness Month and Occupational Therapy Month. And I want to introduce our guests today. We have Dr. Karen Aranha from the University of St. Augustine, and so her students and our interns. We have Mary Grace Lagaska, Alexis Fortes, and Adriana Ornelas. And myself, I'm Dr. Nina Mosier, Executive Director of Power for Parkinson's, and we're really excited to have you all here today. So today's conversation is going to talk about, we're thinking about the team approach to managing Parkinson's, and that's the key to living your best life, really, with Parkinson's. And so today, we have this great team that we're going to talk about occupational therapy and how that fits in to the management. And I'd like to just introduce Dr. Aranha a little bit more and just let you know that she is on our board, on the Power for Parkinson's board, which we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
And we're happy because you bring us such unique skill sets. And so that includes 30 years of clinical experience in rehab and 9 years of teaching experience. She has a Bachelor of Science in Occupational Therapy, a Master of Science in Health, Exercise, and Sports Sciences in the biomechanics of track, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Human Development and Family Studies with a specialization in gerontology and human agency of the older adult. And her expertise is in neurorehabilitation and finding ways to address neuroplasticity with people with acquired neurologic conditions, and community health and global health. And these are her clinical doctoral students that we are so thrilled to have with us today. So, welcome everybody. And with that, I think it would be great to start just a general conversation and let us know maybe, Karen, if you could just talk about occupational therapy.
Good, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Nina. And it's okay to refer to each other first name, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're friendly. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for having us here, and also thank you for all the support you've given University of St. Augustine in educating our students. And so as far as occupational therapy goes, we are part of this healthcare team. We've been around since the early 1900s. And however, the term occupational therapy sometimes can be a little misleading because it's, very often clients go, well, I don't know if I need occupational therapy because I don't work anymore. But we refer to, so our unique contribution to healthcare is we believe that engagement in occupations is important for health and quality of life. So there's a lot of overlap between other disciplines, and we are definitely movement specialists, but our focus is always in terms of improving occupational engagement.
And when you say occupational engagement and where the overlap is, so if somebody isn't working, but what types of things are you alluding to with that?
So depending on, let's just take for example with Parkinson's disease, there's definitely issues both motor versus non-motor symptoms. And so when clients come to us, we do an interview and we kind of get an occupational profile of the client and then go down to see what may be limiting the client in actually engaging in the ADLs and I'm using the term ADLs, that's another term for occupations, activities of daily living. And so now that same client could also be referred to a physical therapist or a speech language pathologist. And depending on their scope of practice and their approach to movement, they're going to identify things that work within their scope of practice. However, for occupational therapists, we're looking at what are the factors that are limiting engagement in occupations.
Okay.
And then all of our treatment approaches to make sure we can help with either the remediation of occupational engagement,
Okay.
or we may again work with compensation, but the ultimate goal is to improve engagement.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that helps clarify things or starts to clarify things for people. And then maybe could you just kind of touch on the difference that between physical therapy, occupational, and speech therapy?
Sure, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so with occupational therapy and physical therapy, like I mentioned, we are both applied movement specialists, but physical therapy focuses on balance and gait, and occupational therapy focuses on engagement in ADLs. However, you cannot just engage in ADLs without addressing balance, without addressing functional mobility.
Yeah.
And so that's where the overlap comes.
Okay.
With speech language pathologists and OT, speech language pathologists focus on dysphagia or swallowing management, as well as communication. And with OTs, we do, dysphagia, even before speech language pathologists address it, OTs used to address it as a profession.
Okay.
But at some point, there was a little switch, and now speech language pathologists are the specialists with dysphagia. OTs have not relinquished their, their expertise in it. However, in settings where there's a speech language pathologist and an OT, the speech language pathologist takes the lead with dysphagia management, and OT follows along, just so that we can work collaboratively to address the client's needs.
Okay. So that's so I'm thinking about, when we talk about the team approach, and of course, not everybody has access to a team, but let's say they did, and then we have people with Parkinson's that are have various needs and various degrees. So, like, what are the different maybe specialties of OT? The people that might go work in the home versus in an outpatient setting or hospital setting.
Right.
How would that relate to someone with Parkinson's?
Yes. So I think we do work in all settings, acute care, ICU if we do get a referral to come in there, intensive care units, inpatient rehab settings, skilled nursing facilities, long-term care settings, as well as in the community, in home health as well as community health. And so what was the other part of the question?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, like, what somebody with Parkinson's would, like, let's say if somebody's at home and maybe they're having trouble getting dressed, or some of their bathing, or is that something that an occupational therapist would?
Right, and so we do, and so what we would do, so some OTs may be trained with LSVT, big, and that's a specialization, a certification, and it's evidence-based. However, even if you're not certified with LSVT big, you're going to address the needs of the person with Parkinson's disease based on our understanding and our knowledge of what are the issues and what is evidence-based for that condition. And so we could, OTs look at, do home assessments to make sure the environment that people are engaging in is safe.
Yeah.
We look at the use of assistive technology, right? And anything else that? Adaptive equipment, driving cessation, determining, is it safe for someone with Parkinson's disease to be driving? And, if there are ways that we could compensate for some of those limitations, then recommending the right accommodations and devices so that a client can engage in driving.
And then how about people going back to work and, or, using a computer if they have a tremor, or do you have any tricks for that or suggestions or things that you might recommend?
Right, and so what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and touch on it briefly, but if you any of you want to chip in, you can. So generally what we do is we look for environmental control units, or we look for assistive technology to help enhance occupational engagement. And so one of those things that we do is we go in there and do ergonomic analysis or a task analysis. And then based on the task analysis, we determine what may be the best piece of equipment that would probably make it easier for the client. Now, it doesn't have to be equipment. We may think of some kind of an exercise program or something that could also help the client in their work environment, or rather will help the client engage in their work environment. Was there anything else that you feel
I think
like?
energy conservation techniques and such, especially with the Parkinsons, or tend to get tired more often, and so I know the OTs will look at routines and kind of their environmental modifications. Maybe don't put things so far away or so high up, like just going in and assessing their current living situation to see how we can help them preserve or conserve their energy, I guess is
Yeah,
better.
yeah, that sounds, that's great.
Or even like building a workstation that is just designated
Right.
for what they need to do. So they are limiting them,
Right.
or, limiting the amount of energy that they're spending on that task. And another thing I wanted to clarify is, we say occupations, and this can look different for everyone. So this can be, for one person, it could be going to work, but for another person, it could be taking care of their kids, or it could be, the hobbies that they enjoy. So for one person, that could be playing a musical instrument or doing yoga, or, so it just varies from client to client or from person to person on what those those important occupations are.
Okay, so I think that's really important, and I guess I'm curious about because we've talked a little bit about this since you've all been, working with us, but like how can someone use or seek the services of someone with an occupational therapist early on instead of waiting until perhaps their Parkinson's has progressed? What would be an example?
Or what would be the right time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think traditionally we've been OT, with the current healthcare system here in the US, we, particularly if it's a medical condition, we wait for a doctor's referral. And so the doctors have to initiate it. And unfortunately here, it's more a reactive system. You have issues and then you get a referral in order to address those issues. But with something like a condition like Parkinson's disease, which is neurodegenerative, we can be proactive. And so the sooner you see, the sooner you address these issues, the better it is. To prevent that decline, or to and to ensure quality of life. And so traditionally, like I said right now, if you're looking at the Honyar scale, it's stage 4. That's when OTs are referred to. However, we know that with preventative care, we can reduce this decline. And so even when you start seeing your non-motor symptoms, I think it would be good to start, because whether it's motor symptoms or non-motor symptoms, it's going to come in the way of your quality of life. It's going to come in the way of engagement.
Yes.
So the sooner we get a referral, or the sooner we get a consultation,
Yes.
the better it is. And you don't need to see us 5 times a week, but even once a month, there's touch base to make sure that everything's kept in check would be a nice way to go about it.
Yeah. So I guess getting back to Parkinson's awareness, this might be something that our audience, it's a good thing for people to know, because I know sometimes, doctors are so busy and they are not always, they might have the best, your best interest at heart, but there's a lot to take care of. But if the patient or the family member would maybe ask for a referral, sometimes that would give them the
Right.
opportunity. So I think for those of you who are watching, it would be, something to consider if there's some activities at home that you're struggling with that you might, be able to get a few tips from an occupational therapist and by checking in.
Right, and you're exactly right, right? So, for example, one of the first symptoms are tremors. And if tremors are coming in the way of function, then definitely coming to an occupational therapist to see if there are ways or devices that can help minimize those tremors and improve your engagement and help with, your quality of life. That would be a huge benefit.
Yeah. So I think, I've learned a lot, and I hope, what by sharing this information, by working with all of you, I've learned a lot about what the options are. So, I hope people get these takeaways, and that there are, you want to be proactive about your disease. You want to be proactive about your Parkinson's, because you really can live well with Parkinson's.
Right.
But you have to be, you have to work at it.
Right.
So, but I think that's such good information. So I guess, so leading from that, I think what's so interesting are the different projects that the students have worked on. And it just gives an example of like the depth of your field.
Exactly, yeah.
So I was thinking that we can
And maybe what we should say is also, we like to say, and I know every other profession likes to do this too, but we're very holistic. And, the way we're addressing healthcare now, things have changed. It's all about getting people back to, being able to be functionally independent.
Yeah.
And so, yes, and I think that could lead on to, in terms of what the three of you are doing, because they're so varied and they all encompass that holistic,
Yes.
that holistic approach.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Adriana,
Yeah.
you want to start and
Of
tell?
course, absolutely. So I was actually, my research project that I took on while at Power for Parkinson's was exploring the lived experiences of individuals with Parkinson's and their experience with sleep. So sleep is reported for like 60 to 96% to affect 60 to 96% of individuals with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get a better idea of what these lived experiences were. I met with a couple of individuals who I kind of just probed, like, would you be interested in answering a few questions about sleep? And I found out that they didn't have any resources available to them. And I figured that other individuals would possibly have that same experience. So it's been very eye-opening, yeah, it's been a very fun experience, and people have really shared what they've gone through, and I will be writing a paper on that soon. So
Well,
it's coming along. It's
Okay.
coming along.
Well, we look forward to seeing what your results
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
So, and I just have to preface all of this is that all three of these women have had their abstracts accepted from the World Parkinson's Congress. So that's really very exciting. So there's some great information that they're going to be sharing with the world very soon. So Alexis.
So mine is more focused on, we understand that exercise for Parkinson's disease is great. It really helps with symptom management. And as an individual early on, if we want to kind of slow the progression of those symptoms, we want to work on that exercise with great community organizations just like Power for Parkinson's that provide all these classes. So it's more exploring the lived experiences of these individuals, what their sense of belonging, the positive benefits, and do they feel they're getting these benefits from the organization. So I'm having a couple focus groups, one specified for individuals diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and one with their caregivers if they have one. And it's trying to get, are there any gaps? Are there ways that we can continue to support people in our community, and do the caregivers, do they see these changes? Do they see any benefits? So it's kind of understanding that and how we can kind of further provide more community resources here in Austin, and maybe hopefully encourage other communities as well to have in-person exercise classes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I cannot wait to see what that reveals. Yeah.
What I
Mary
like about
Grace.
I'm Mary Grace. I like about all of our projects is I feel like we're all hitting really important topics that are impacting the overall Parkinson's community. So I think anyone watching this and hearing about our projects are going to very much be like, yes, thank you for bringing these up. So I appreciate both of you so much. But what I get to do is work with just trying to help the profession. So today, Dr. Aranha and I are working on changing occupational therapists and how they see non-standardized assessments, but it'd be great to even take this to other medical professionals and really just ask them to look at non-standardized assessments in order to hear more from the client. And so it's taking what might be unstructured assessment tool. I'm specifically looking at something called cognitive mapping, which is really just taking a brainstorming type approach to asking the individual who has Parkinson's to really drive, the conversation and share whatever they feel comfortable with and they think is important. So it's less about me as a therapist sitting with my clipboard and asking questions from the patient, but actually asking them to, take the lead on this and you tell me what you want me to do as your therapist and how can I support you best, and really to focus on patient-centered care, which I think is so critical nowadays with so many diversity within the Parkinson's community and just in general people getting diagnosed with chronic conditions. There needs to be even more sensitive approaches, culturally sensitive approaches, and how we approach the client, as well as trying to really centralize who they are as a person in a holistic way, as we've talked about quite a bit. And there might be things, I've learned things about people that I would never consider, was important or critical to the quality of care, the treatment of care. And it's like, now how can I incorporate that? So it's been really cool to really create this partnership, hopefully with patients in the future. So I'm really trying to show this is what we need to do as a profession. So I have high hopes, but wanting to really make a change in our approach. So.
Yeah, well, I love that, how you're and Mary Grace is really looking at the whole, so the person with Parkinson's is the patient.
Yes.
It's not put in a box, basically.
Exactly.
So they're not limited to, certain questions. So I really think it's great that you can look at that whole person and, hopefully be able to help them in whatever unique way that they
Right, and like
need.
Mary Grace says, this technique or this particular assessment, cognitive mapping with motivational interviewing, doesn't just have to be by OTs. It can also be done by doctors and other allied health professionals, because you're understanding the needs and challenges of your client or the population in terms of what is most important to them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's going to really, it's a good tool to even work on empathy and trying to put yourself in their shoes and address the needs of the client.
Yes.
Well, and I've heard occupational therapy is like the intersect between creativity, compassion, and science. And so it's really on us as therapists to listen to the patient and come up with creative ways to support them in what they want to do or get them back to doing that activity again or that occupation again. So it's like they're the author of the next chapter and we're the editor. And we're like, this is how we'll get you there. This is what you're trying to say and what you want to see happen in that next chapter. This is what we know in our skilled profession to help you get that. So I don't know if that helps. But
Yeah.
Well said.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I love how you said that. So with all that being said, I think that, we could have people, I'm not sure where everyone is from today, but they're not just in Austin. There could be all over the United States or in other countries. So, what would you say, like, how can people get connected with an occupational therapist here versus, in a more rural area, perhaps in another country? I know you've worked with a lot of international people internationally. What do you have any
So in the U.S.,
comments?
in the U.S., generally go to your doctor, make sure you stop there and ask for a referral. If you have, clinics, outpatient clinics around, and you just need to consult, you're not sure you really need occupational therapy, you just want to consult, you don't need a referral. You can just walk up to a client and consult with an OT and consult with the OT. However, if the OT is going to treat you, then the OT can initiate the referral from the doctor. So there are two ways you can do it. Either go directly to the doctor and initiate the referral, or go to the OT, find an OT, consult with the OT, and then get the OT to initiate the referral.
Okay.
Internationally, some countries have more OTs than other countries. And so that would be a bit of a challenge depending on where you're living.
Yes.
And I wish there were more powerful Parkinson's type of organizations all over the world, to help connect people with Parkinson's disease with healthcare professionals that address the needs of people. And so, yes, like a country, I'm from India, and a country like India has a lot of occupational therapists, but there's not necessarily a scope of practice there. Like we have a national organization.
I see.
So you could just meet up with people who may not necessarily be occupational therapists. So you got to be careful.
Yes.
Yes, and so, I think linking with the doctor and go, in other countries, and then, getting a doctor to make a referral or to let you know who the occupational therapists are that are available may be the way to go in an international situation.
Yeah. Okay. And have we had any questions, Garden? If anybody is watching and they have any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat description, in the chat box, and we will answer them too as we go along. But so what was I going to say? Regarding the just finding the OT, and then here in Austin, you offer through the university.
Right, and
You
here,
have a
so
clinic, right?
through the university, we offer a free clinic, and what happens with rehabilitation is there's only so much of money to go around, and so the insurance company has to approve your therapy, the number of sessions you can get. However, our free clinic just takes people irrespective of whether they can pay or not. I mean, we don't charge at all. But it's student-led and faculty-directed. So we have students who do the scheduling, who do the treating. However, each client is assigned to a faculty member who will supervise, ensure that the clients that come to our clinic get what they need.
Okay, so if somebody was in Austin, who would they contact?
So they would contact the Pro Bono Clinic at University of St. Augustine Health Sciences Center. Or they could also contact me, and could you all make that my information available?
Sure.
Yes?
Sure.
Okay, my email address will be great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds great. Well, I love what you all do, and I guess how would you have a couple main focuses for people with Parkinson's, or tips that you might have that you address?
I think being active, and I have encountered a lot of people with associated with powerful Parkinson's who are doing just that. But with activity, there's also, you need flexibility, a lot of stretching.
Yes.
And so while all of us want to be active because of the rigidity and things like issues such as that, making sure you're also stretching each day. You're also engaging in spiritual practices. And when I say spiritual practices, I don't mean religious-based. I mean, that's okay too, but I'm talking more about breathing and mindfulness. because anxiety is another huge issue. And when you're anxious and you're stressed, that can exacerbate your symptoms.
Yes.
So these are generally the things, this is our approach. And
Yes.
then, of course, we zero down on other issues that may be limiting their independence.
Yeah.
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 You all have anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a big thing is kind of know your limits and understand yourself as an individual. If you're having a bad day, you know, you're feeling extra fatigued and tired that day, try not to push it, because if a fall occurs, you know, you just further hurt yourself. You know, nobody wants that. So just you know, give yourself a rest day. It's okay some days to rest.
Yes, that's so important. Yeah.
That is good advice. That's
Better
very
said
good.
than practiced.
Well, you gave me a perfect in because about the mindfulness, because we do have our relax and reset class that
Right.
Nadine does teach. She just did an incredible class this past Sunday. If anyone out there hasn't seen it, it's really great to try. And there's she did a beautiful meditation with a walk in the woods. It was about 10 minutes, and we did it with her, our staff.
Nice.
And it was a perfect thing to do in the middle of the day to just reset. And so I
Right.
know that really can help people. And, you know, whether they do something with us, with the yoga that Nadine does, or you can do that on your own or in a class, is a really great thing for Parkinson's. Can help with tremors, just that and calm anxiety. So
Right. And to add to that also, the Japanese engage in what's called forest bathing, where they just take walks in these forests, and they say it's just the chemicals from the trees, you know, from the plant life that helps with the physiology of the human body. And so even things like that would be a nice way to de-stress or to reset.
well, I think what you're saying, and you're just giving like this big overview of, I mean, how you do look at the whole body. I mean,
Yes,
it's a
exactly.
whole
Yes,
very
yes,
holistic
yes,
approach.
yeah.
So
You know, and sometimes just sitting still and focusing on breathing can be difficult, but there are other ways of doing it too.
Yeah.
And so both are important, both are just as good, or, you know, yeah, they're both just as good, but you've got options.
Yeah, so
That's-
many options.
Yeah.
yeah,
So many.
so that's so great, because it just seems to me like just taking the time to meet with someone, a specialist like yourselves, would be very helpful for someone with Parkinson's. So just come up with a plan, just
Yes.
something to kind of bounce off, you know, someone else, so you can have a way to approach your day, approach, you know, how you're managing your Parkinson's in the very best way. So it's a great complement to everything else. And I know a lot of people watching are already exercising, so that's great. We're really happy about that. And you know, and taking your medication, but doing these other things too can really,
Finding what's right for you.
yeah. So I think that's really important. Well, I think, do we have anything else that anyone wants to add today? Anything we want to share with the Parkinson's community?
I think, I could definitely say something. So I don't think, you know, all of us have different challenges and different conditions, you know, but I don't think any of us need to feel alone. There are organizations like Powerful Parkinson's, there are clinicians around who are willing to work with you, but just reaching out, I think, is very important,
Yes, yeah.
and using your community resources to stay active is what's important,
Yeah. So, you know, if you can find a group that's near you is ideal. There are a lot of online groups these days, and then we also have our virtual support group.
Right.
We're going to be starting a virtual caregiver support group.
Oh, nice.
I think that's going to be in May.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out. I hope you're on our email list. So there's a lot of ways to get support whether it's through Power for Parkinson's or other organizations in your community. So, well, thank you so much for sharing all this great information and like being part of Power for Parkinson's and supporting us.
Oh my goodness, thank you for
You
having
guys,
us.
it's just
Thank
been
it's been so rewarding working here. Just FYI, we've really enjoyed our time here, and getting to know the people and getting to know you guys, and it's such a great opportunity. So thank you.
Yes.
Well.
Thank you for having us, because and the opportunity for having the students here, actually engage in research projects, because the information, even though they're small projects, the information that they're generating is going to be very valuable for the care we can provide
Oh, yes.
the Parkinson's population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's critical, and it just helps just keep moving along and keep providing the best care possible. So, and we look so forward to seeing your abstracts and or your posters.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Thank you to all the people who have volunteered, who volunteered for our research studies and have been devoted some time to us and gave us such valuable information. So we really appreciate that so much.
Well, I think it works both ways. So, you're doing great work and helping the community, and they want to give back and help others. So it's a win-win for everybody. So it's been wonderful. Well, thank you. And keep an eye out for our Parkinson's awareness schedule. We have a lot going on this month. It's going to be on all our social media. You can see our calendar, and we have our birthday bash, our 10th year, on April 14th and 15th in Austin. If you happen to be here, we hope you come. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.